actually I had one of these problems where I had so many different bosses in the game and I didn't really know like what their weaknesses are. So I decided I'm just going to sit down, I'm going to build a nice chart for everyone to use. I'm going to put it in a very nice graphic. For any of you who want to use it, you can also just come here. It's on hsrguide.com. I made it myself, so the graphics a bit not that pleasantly aesthetic, but it does tell us a lot of information, and we're going to talk through, and I'm going to be telling you some key findings I have. I haven't updated like the commentary. I'll update it later on after this video as well. Just want to get this video out to you guys first hand or so in terms of commentary. So I think interestingly, what this chart is telling us, not only does it teach you, for example, if your team is able to tackle a lot of the content in the game, note that this is not all the elites in the game. There are many more elites, of course, but I think the primary one that we want to focus on is the left hand side here, the boss category. You will fight a lot of these monsters in the Memory of Chaos or these bosses in the simulated universe as well, and I think it tells quite a bit in terms of the early game meta of like 1.0, what we are having in terms of a game state. A lot of us might be focusing in terms of this red 0 here in terms of ice. Don't be too alarmed, doesn't mean ice characters are bad. I think this just balances it out because currently in the game we have enemies with very low effect resistance. And if this was too high or much higher, then of course it will be kind of broken because ice can just freeze everything with the amounts of low resistance that enemies have in the game right now. Moving forward, I do think that this number will increase for the number of bosses that we see, but also for example, their effect resistance going up in tandem, which means that you can't just build your ice characters purely attack. Maybe they want a bit of effect hit rate as well, so that kind of balances it out in the long run. But early game, don't feel too alarmed with this red. Doesn't mean the ice characters are very bad right now. What we see in the early meta in terms of this chart, we can see that certain typing is favored, and you can also feel that way in terms of how useful certain characters are. For example, that is also why S-Star as well as Fire MC work so well currently in the game state, and why free-to-play comps still are able to manage, because Fire is very meta as well, and also why Susang and other like Clara are very strong is because of this huge amounts of physical need for various enemy typing as well. Not only in terms of bosses, but elites also have quite a number of physical weaknesses also. We see the same case for Welt and Imaginary. He's the only imaginary character, and any one of you guys probably are smiling right now. If you have Welt, probably you will know why he's really strong. He just does so much in terms of all of the content right now as well. That's why he's a little bit more meta, because you can see that most of the stuff are a little bit more weaker to Imaginary than other stuff. So also interestingly to know that there are not many bosses that are currently weak to Quantum. Quantum is like actually the second lowest other than Ice. So this is one example of it being slightly unfavorable to Zealer or even Tincture maybe. We might see this change a little bit as Silverwolf comes into the game, more Quantum characters come into the game. Perhaps this will also move in tandem to have a little bit more of the bosses weak to Quantum a little bit more. Of course, over here in terms of, for example, your elites here, some of them are weak to Quantum. That's why Zealer is still quite good, because she's able to pick up squishies, deal a lot of damage on the squishy boss monsters. But in terms of like the pure bosses in the game, she doesn't really fare that well against them, and I think a lot of you might be feeling that way as well, which is good. I don't think that the game should have made a Quantum like the meta and force everyone to roll on the first banner. That doesn't like feel too healthy to me. Other than that, Zingyuan's banner is also coming out at a really good time. He's pretty decent in terms of major bosses, like Cocolia is weak to him, Japad is also quite weak to him, Svarog is also weak to him. So I think it's a really good timing for him as well. And other than that, in terms of the big bosses, you have the Frigid Prowler and the Searing Prowler, which are a bit more AoE in nature, does quite a lot of damage, especially in the Memory of Chaos stages. So very nice that he's also addressing these two big ones very strongly as well. So it does tell us a bit about game state in terms of how it is. Certain elements definitely are favored more than others right now. And yeah, so other than that, element weakness I mentioned here is just one of many ways to determine the bias in the meta. There are of course other things that matter too. For example, like the buffs in the Memory of Chaos or the certain kind of rotations. Are there more AoE monsters, a lot of small monsters, a lot of AoE content, single target? All these are factored in as well, which is why I'm not pairing this content together with like a tier list video and stuff like that. I might do it later on in terms of like who I think is more favorite in the meta as well. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. Otherwise, I'll be definitely adding more commentary to the website here. I'll be adding more of these like interesting charts that I myself find useful as well. So yeah, if you appreciate it, you like the chart as well, go ahead and share it. I really will appreciate you guys sharing the chart around. It really helped the website get a bit more attention. It's very new, as you know. We just ported it over to a new site as well. And thank you so much for watching. Do check on these 2 other videos if you are interested in watching more video content as well. And see you in the next video.